featuring Will Gavin and Master Tess Fassian.
And a squad of big-name contributors.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
Hello and welcome to the S Word with me, Marcus Speller. The S Word brought to you by talkSPORT, of course, and the talkSPORT S Word YouTube channel. Myself, of course, Marcus Speller, will be with you for the next couple of hours with Flex, who is out in Mexico, can you believe, ahead of England's last 16 clash with the hosts in the Azteca tomorrow. Much to say on that game, of course. Elsewhere in the World Cup yesterday, holders Argentina are through to the last 16 just. They were made to work for it. Messi and co, yes, they got their sweat on because Cape Verde were pretty damn good. I think we can all agree on that one. Losing just about in extra time, courtesy of an unfortunate own goal, but they've made a mark on this tournament and we will never forget them. Certainly not that goalkeeper, Vecina, anyway. More chat on them later. We've got South American football expert Jon Cotterill as well to talk all South American teams, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, and more. Cape Verde, though, they've arguably been the story of the tournament so far. Their campaign, of course, has sadly come to an end, but my goodness, they've been absolutely brilliant. We reflect on their time at the World Cup with African football expert Ali Howarth, and he's going to discuss Morocco's chances ahead of their clash with Ghana as well later. England in action tomorrow as well, of course, at the Azteca Stadium, kicking off at the original time. I think it's the original time. Have FIFA moved the kickoff? They moved it back? I think it's at the original time. Let's go with that for the moment. The pair of us, Flex and me, will look ahead to that last 16 clash involving England and Mexico and discuss the chaos surrounding that fixture after FIFA moved the kickoff time and then moved it back, of course. Plus, we'll look ahead to France versus Paraguay. That's tonight, and we're going to ask, can anybody stop this France team? And we'll check in with Felipe Cardenas from The Athletic too. You're watching the S-Bird, sponsored by Calci.
Miami for a match that encapsulates what the World Cup is all about. Towards Messi. Oh, how on earth has he squeezed that in?
His control, Jim, on the outside of the left foot is magnificent.
Messi's got 7 goals in this tournament, Stu. He's only had 11 shots.
They all come here to see Messi magic, and he has delivered.
Oh, it's in! An extraordinary moment. Leroy Duarte has equalised for Cape Verde.
And I'll tell you what, Argentina all of a sudden have got to raise the tempo if they want to win this game.
Extraordinary story panning out here in Miami.
Take the world champions to extra time. This is one of the greatest shocks in World Cup history.
Left-footed effort. Oh, blazed in. Sandro Martinez and Argentina lead again. Surely too much to ask for them to be able to conjure up anything again. Cape Verde will bring it forward here with Sidney Cabral. Oh, brilliant. That is a stunning goal. You just couldn't comprehend it.
You just cannot believe this scoreline.
Messi to take the latest corner. 2-2 the scoreline. Oh, it's in. It's 3-2 Argentina. Romero takes the acclaim.
But if you think you're going to retain a World Cup playing like that, with that arrogance, you've got no chance.
And Argentina have won. One of the greatest that the World Cup has ever seen.
What a game to wrap up the last 32 at this World Cup. We're into the last 16 now. And I can also say we are joined live in Mexico from talkSPORT's Flex. Flex, how are you, my man?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm very, very good. How are you doing, my friend? I am enjoying Mexico life, and it's dawning on me about what's around the corner with England, but I'm having a great time.
You look like you're having a great time as well. Flex, I've heard that you are on a one-man mission campaigning the locals to get the country called Flexico for the duration of your stay there. Can you confirm or deny that?
I can confirm this is true.
Good man.
I've got a lot of work to do to pass this bill. I've got a lot of people to see in high places.
Very high places, as we're led to believe.
With attitudes. Exactly. So hopefully I come back and you know Mexico City as something very, very different, my friend.
Yeah, very, very good. The last 16, yeah, it is upon us. But what a last 32 we had. It's the first time we've ever seen a last 32 at a World Cup, of course. And that final game of the round, or second final to game of the round, involved Argentina and Cape Verde. It was a sickener for Cape Verde, but my goodness, what an impression they've left on us in this World Cup.
It really was. Have you got me? Yeah, it really was. We was down at the fan park yesterday, and not many actual Cape Verdeans here from Cape Verde, as you could imagine. But the whole fan park, bar a few Argentina fans, of course, mainly Mexicans here, everybody was cheering on Cape Verde. And it was really weird, actually, because everybody really turned up to watch Messi, right? You know, here in South America, and there are quite a few Argentinians here as well. But as the game wore on, obviously Messi gets the first goal, but as the game wore on, this sort of hatred's probably a bit too strong, but just massive support for Cape Verde just started to arise. Every ball, every foul, every cross, every corner, every shot, it was just, everybody was just on the end of what Cape Verde were doing. And when they equalised, mate, honestly, the roar was not far off Mexico scoring the first goal against Ecuador.
There you go, that's the stuff.
It was incredible.
Yeah. I think, yeah. And a Mexican man once told me, whether this is true or not, and you can find out this yourself later today. He said he didn't like Argentinians. He said they think of themselves quite highly. He said when it's thunder and lightning in Argentina, they think it's God taking photographs of them. So if that is true, then there's no love lost between Mexico and Argentina. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, Argentina, they were pushed all the way, but they got it done. They ultimately got through. How impressed, if that's the right word, were you with Argentina's resolve, or indeed how disappointed were you in their performance against Cape Verde?
No, I did hear Stuart Pearce, of course, at the back end of that package, sort of say they're not going to win the World Cup with that arrogance. And listen, I'm pretty sure Stuart Pearce knows a thing or two about football, a lot more than I do. But I did tend to disagree a little bit. I don't think it was arrogant, if I'm honest with you. I think we just have to take our hats off to this Cape Verde team. They haven't lost the game in 90 minutes. They've given everybody a hell of a game. You look at what they did to the European champions Spain, and now the world champions Argentina. I don't think anybody's been obnoxious or naive when they're facing. They've been shell-shocked and they've understood they're in for a right game. But I just think it's the opposite. I think Cape Verde are just super physical, super organised, and actually have a lot of talented players. I don't think it's, yes, of course, it's this massive underdog story. And this, you know, I go back to myself at the beginning of the tournament when they were about to play Spain. I predicted they'd lose 8-0. I had to do 2 apology videos to the whole of Cape Verde. They were in my comments saying, listen, we accept your apology and we go forward from there. So I learnt my lesson. But I think every other nation that they had to play, and even every other nation watching them and every other football fan around the world, understood very, very quickly what this Cape Verdean side is all about. So I don't think Argentina were arrogant or naive. I actually think they had to dig in and they had to get a little bit of luck right at the end as well. I mean, Romero probably want to claim that, but it is their own goal. But they needed to draw on resolve from quality players in Messi and Martinez. So at the end of the day, and big saves, by the way, from Martinez in goals. So I think it's just another reason what shows the sort of the, even though it's against Cape Verde, the resolve of they're the champions. The resolve there to not give in. It looked like, it really did look like the football gods were saying, Argentina, you're done. Like, we're going to give this to Cape Verde. It's going to pens, and all is going to be lost for you. So, no, I see it the other way. I think they showed great resolve.
No, I would tend to agree with you. I mean, despite what Stuart Pearce said, or that expression that my Mexican friend told me about the Argentinians, I don't think it was arrogance at all. And in those games as well, look, England found this against DR Congo, didn't they? Where when you are playing a so-called World Cup minnow, who of course are there on merit and have got talent in their squad, hence they're at the Cup, they give you a bit of a bloody nose. Ooh, it's scary. You know, you start thinking, blimey, what they're going to... Argentina thinking we're the champions and so on. It's all about getting through to the next round. I totally understand that that they may not be convinced back home in Argentina, and we are going to have our South American football expert, Jon Cotterill, talk about this later. But from an England point of view, or, you know, maybe, let's see how far England can go. Maybe they will play Argentina later on in the tournament. I sincerely hope England will be in a semi-final, but we shall see. I think from other teams in that side of the group, whether it is Mexico, England, Norway or Brazil, or even, dare I say, well, Egypt have got them next, but whoever may play Argentina in that semi-final, presuming Argentina get there, I think they'll look at this and say, oh, they are fallible. Do you know what I mean? They can be got at, and France are the only side, maybe Spain to a lesser degree, because they've only suddenly started to get going, really, are the sides that, you know, the top 2 favourites, of course. But I think Argentina, off the back of this performance, people will look at this and go, okay, all right, maybe they're not this, irresistible force that we think they are. However, Flex, I put it to you, it would be an incredibly Argentinian thing to do, to cough and splutter your way through this game and then against Egypt, and then just brush aside Brazil or England or whoever it is in the semi-final.
Yeah, exactly. I think, ironically, when the bigger nations play against more orthodox nations or ones they're more aware of, they probably know what to expect a lot more. And I think that those type of games will just throw up the sorts of games that we would probably expect, high energy, good quality, and a good shootout between big nations. I think what we've seen with the likes of Cape Verde and other teams like DR Congo at times and some other smaller nations that have been in the group stages as well, is that they really have thrown up really awkward games over 90 minutes. They really have. In this case, of course, it went over 90 minutes, but they've thrown up real barnstormers, real games where like these big nations are knowing they're in for a game and are winning games sort of maybe late on or with a moment of quality or a moment of luck, like we saw Argentina. And I think that the tournament will probably start to settle down as the nations that are left in it now are very acquainted with each other and sort of know what to expect. And this Argentina team 100% are that. I mean, we're going to talk about it later on in the show about, who can really beat France and who's the top contenders. But Argentina playing in the way that they are, I was talking to some people yesterday and they were like, these Argentinians, they're getting the Arsenal Europa League run to the Champions League final is what they're getting. So they need to start playing some people. They're getting by with the easy draws. But listen, it is what it is. But they do have that Argentinian steel about them, don't they? And of course, like, let's be honest, man, Messi was supposed to really just finish in 2022.
Yeah,
okay?
He'd done it all. That's enough.
Tuning in to sort of see the decline.
Yeah. But no,
but he's the best player in the world.
I mean, it's extra. I mean, that goal he scored, I think the highest compliment I can always pay another footballer in a goal like that, I say it's Dennis Bergkamp-esque. But when it's Messi, you kind of go, it's Messi-esque. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just delightful the way he ghosted in and so on. I mean, I do find it interesting that obviously that whole side is built around him, because why on earth would you do anything else? And Messi, we saw his running stats or his walking stats. He strolls around the pitch a lot. He's almost like the ultimate luxury player. Although that sounds a little bit. It doesn't seem to quite get it, but do you know what I mean though? Because clearly the other team are all working for him. It's like that Bill Shankly quote. It takes 10 men to pick up and move a piano, but it takes one man to play it. And Messi is that guy, but it's working for them.
It is completely working for them, and when you have somebody as good as him, and you have who, in my opinion, is the greatest footballer of all time. For me, I'm leaning to more towards the greatest sportsman of all time. It's a whole different conversation, but I really am in that camp with him at the moment. I think that's to be debated after this World Cup, especially, imagine if he wins it. I mean, honestly, the type of conversations that could happen if Messi goes back-to-back, we'll just have to stop talking about it.
There's no more conversation. That's it.
There'll be no more conversation. But in terms of being the greatest footballer, I think that's already been put to bed. But they have the ability to do it, and the way that they play for him, the way that they all understand his qualities, and the way that I think even him, I think you've got to give maximum shout outs to him, because one thing is to be as good as he is, but the load management that he has and the way he's adapted his game to be able to still be as clutch in the moments when you give him the ball. The magic still happens like it did 10, 15 years ago, if I'm honest with you. Of course, this isn't prime Messi, but he activates in these sort of moments where, again, it goes drifting, might not get the ball. But when he does get the ball for those 5 to 10 seconds, it's like watching Messi from the last decade. So he just understands how to look after himself, when to apply himself. And this is why the situation with Portugal and Ronaldo, listen, I know that in my opinion, Ronaldo is a cut below Messi, and some people see that as disrespectful. It's not. But I do think there is a way, if you set up the team right, where you can have these superstars of the game and get the most out of them. And I think Argentina are showing that. Of course, Messi's on a different planet, but just to take it to Portugal a little bit, I do think there is a way where they can get a little bit more out of Cristiano Ronaldo if the team's set up in a way. But Portugal have been very underwhelming in a lot of areas, to be fair, with the players that they actually do have. But when you look at what Argentina are doing, the supporting cast are all playing out of their skin.
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference in how they set up there. But when you've got Messi, it's a cheat code.
It really is. It really is. They're going to be playing Egypt in the next round. Egypt, of course, beat Australia on penalties. Not the most exciting of games, it's fair to say, but Egypt, they were my pick for the team who were going to advance from this tie. But Australia, fair play to them. They dug in. They took it all the way. But Egypt are through. They will be playing Argentina. I mean, I think a couple of years ago we may have billed this Messi versus Salah, but it's fair to say it's Egypt versus Messi and Argentina. I mean, look, but Salah, though, I did enjoy his Panenka penalty, though. I thought that, my goodness, that takes a lot of bottle as well, because of that substitution that the Australians made with bringing the goalkeeper off and putting on Matt Ryan, and he was going early for those penalties. He was thinking, right, I'm going to be the hero here. And obviously Egypt had already scored.
He just laughed at him.
Yeah, he did. He literally laughed at him. He
just laughed.
He Panenka'd it and just was a bit like, is that it?
What are you doing down there, Matt?
Yeah,
you good there?
Do you know, it reminded me, sorry to remind you of a bad England memory, when England played Italy in the European Championships in 2012. Andrea Pirlo dinked a penalty against Joe Hart when he was trying to give it the big one, and it was just like, calm down, pal, calm down. And
it's the most embarrassing thing. The keepers must hate that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, Marcus? Like, if you're a keeper and you get Panenka'd, obviously it's like, an outfield player getting megged and stuff like that. But
it is.
I think a Panenka is so disrespectfully beautiful when it works.
That's the way to disrespectfully beautiful. That is the way to do it.
Because it's an amazing thing to watch. Like, if you don't know anything about football and you tuned in and you'd never watched a penalty shootout before, you see all these other guys smashing it, side footing it to the side of the keeper, and you go, "Oh, that was close." And you just see some guy just dink the ball at 4 miles per hour, and the keeper just be struggling to get back the other way. You just think, wow, what is this? I love a Panenka when it works. When it doesn't work, you look like the
Brahim Diaz of Morocco knows all about that, doesn't he?
He knows all about that.
I don't know. I just think, why would you bring in that variable? But then Matt Ryan was so committed, wasn't he, in the Aussie goal to be diving. Mo Salah thought, he's made up my mind for me, quite incredibly. Australia, though, they're out. They had 2, maybe 3 penalty misses. Forgive me. They definitely had one with Harry Souttar, who is from Scotland, so more bad news for Scotland in the World Cup. The Scottish Aussie blazed one over the bar. But what about Australia, though? They sent up a young 18-year-old to take one of the penalties. That was heavily criticised by some people.
I didn't watch all of the game, I'll be honest, but I did get back in just in time for the back end of the game, and then, of course, all of the penalty shootout. And when we saw this kid stepping up, forgive me, I've forgotten his name, I thought, wow, this kid looks about 15. I know I did do a bit of research. He is 18, but
Lucas Harrington is his name.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, and you just felt for him on the run up, and it, not to think too negatively, but you worried for him, didn't you? You saw him taking the ball, you saw him walking up, and you just thought, this kid looks like he's still in school. I don't think he should be put in this position. There's got to be other senior players within that Australian team who should be ahead of him. And that's even, listen, the kid probably was super confident and put his name into the hat.
I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? If he's shown something in training, if he's shown something in training, he's a good striker of the ball, he wants to take one. If you're the coach, then kind of what do you do then? But look,
I suppose if he does score, Marcus, I suppose we're saying, wow, what bravery, what genius to take what he stroked the penalty away. But he hit the crossbar, and we go, he shouldn't be taking it. So I suppose we are probably speaking out both sides of our mouths here, 6-1, half a dozen. But I just think whenever you see a youngster, I just a real youngster, I'm just like, there's got to be some experienced centre midfielders, a centre back, someone who should be there ahead of him.
Yeah, can you make any argument for Egypt beating Argentina in the last 16? I mean, Mo Salah's carried on his indifferent form at club level to international level. Omar Mamouche, the Man City man, no goals, no assists from him this tournament. But look, they're in the last 16. It's a game of football. Anything can happen.
I think what you just said there, they're in the last scene, they're in the last 16, a game of football, and anything can happen. I think it's difficult to look at it like this, because if you do things on paper, you see very, very quickly that's not how football works. But if Cape Verde are able to,
there you go,
muck in and do well and make it difficult to take it to extra time, you'd like to think Egypt could have some sort of talent to be able to do that, some sort of togetherness to do that. But also you have to think of it the other way of Argentina going through what they went through against Cape Verde, and them sort of saying, right, we probably do need to step this up a level. We probably do need to be more clinical, because they did miss some chances as well. And you just can't see any other way apart from Argentina going through. I just can't. You can never say never, But for me, if you're asking me to put my money where my mouth is, I have to go Argentina all day. I think especially because they've won in that manner as well, going right to the wire. You saw the emotion. They were dead on their feet. I was saying to a couple of the people I was with, I was like, yes, of course, they got over the line on penalties against France, but I feel like the exertion that they put out against Cape Verde, and you saw how they were all dead on their feet at the end, hugging each other. It was like Argentina just won the cup. I think that was a more difficult game than the one they played against France. Against France, people forget, for 80 minutes or so, they were actually just really good.
They were magnificent.
Argentina were just... and then, Mbappe just sort of activated in the last 10 minutes to take it to extra time, and then it was a barnstormer. But for this game, from minute 1 to minute 120, it was just relentless. So I think that, taken into account, they've been through that. I just can't see them not beating Egypt now.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Well, look, after the break, we've got Jon Cotterill, who's going to be joining us and talking about Argentina and some of the other South American sides. We've got Ali Howarth on the African sides, and we'll get a weather update from Flexico. You're watching the S Word, sponsored by Kalshi.
From kickoff to the full-time whistle,
talkSPORT presents
the S Word. talkSPORT presents
the S Word.
High energy exchanges, fiery fan reactions, and the biggest football debate.
The S Word.
Hey, what a weekend and what a song. How about that? It's the S Word, everybody. Flex, you're having that one? Living in America? Come on.
I don't mind that, exactly. I mean, I'm not in America right now, but yeah, I did actually forget it was the 4th of July. I'm not going to lie.
You're closer to it than me, mate. You're closer to me. There's a number of reasons why I would love to live in America at some point in my life. Great country, of course, lots going for it. But to be able to listen to this song with with some sort of genuine feeling. Yeah, exactly. Right, it's the S Word, of course, with myself, Marcus Speller, and Flex. We've been reflecting on Argentina getting through against Cape Verde. They're into the last 16, the holders of the World Cup, of course. We're going to unpack that a little bit more now with Jon Cotterill. Jon, are you on the line, good sir?
Yes, I am.
Good to have you with us, Jon. The holders are through. They did it the hard way via extra time against Cape Verde. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, well, they just managed to scrape through. I've been listening to what you were saying beforehand, and it was a real match, wasn't it? I think many people expected Argentina to railroad Cape Verde, but it wasn't the case because Cape Verde were resilient. They stuck in. They really kept their composure. And I watched the game last night. First 20 minutes, nothing happened until Messi's piece of brilliance when he just ghosted in a sublime first touch for the opening goal. And it looked from that point that Argentina would just run riot. But they kind of took the foot off the pedal a bit. They looked a bit jaded, Argentina. And I think overall only Messi really shone for the blue and white. And were undone right at the very end.
Interesting. Yeah, you're saying only Messi shone there for Argentina. I mean, it's a good point. I mean, of course, if Messi shines, then you've got more than half a chance, Jon. Not a bad player, of course. I mean, do you think people in Argentina might be a little bit concerned after that performance against Cape Verde? I appreciate they're through, job done, all that kind of stuff, but it was a bit of a scare.
Yeah, I think I saw a lot of the comments as well. The manager was getting some stick. Why isn't he making more positive changes? He was swapping like for like throughout the game. So that got some stick. But, as you said, they've got through. And every team is going to get hiccups. England have got so much flack as well. And they're through so far at least. It's inevitable that teams at this level, at this stage, are going to give you a game because they're there on merit. So they deserve to be where they are. So it's not going to be a pushover. But yeah, they didn't really perform the way they wanted to, but this is World Cup football.
Yes, absolutely.
Jon, I tend to agree with you. I mean, we did hear sort of a line from Stuart Pearce a little bit earlier, sort of saying there was a little bit of arrogance, or they can't play like that. And I thought it was really interesting because, Cape Verde just deserves so much respect. How much of what you witnessed yesterday was just this Cape Verdean team just being a really good team? It's that simple.
Yeah, some outstanding performances. And when you consider that they were ranked at 67th, I think, and Argentina second, it was a remarkable performance. But they just kept going and they kept pressing at Argentina. And that was the big difference. They didn't let the heads drop and they really took the game to the South Americans. But yeah, it was a great performance. And they were underrated going into it. And as you've said as well, the results going in, this shouldn't have been a great surprise. Holding Spain 0-0 and drawing Uruguay a bit disappointing this time round, but those results beforehand going into unbeaten suggested that they could do something, but obviously the odds were against them.
I mean, Cape Verde, of course, were top of their qualifying group. They're there on merit, where it was a 32-team or a 48-team World Cup. But, I mean, what have you made of the expanded 48-team World Cup? Because we have seen a few teams that we haven't seen for decades, haven't seen for a while, or indeed it is their tournament debuts. What do you think of this 48-team World Cup thus far?
Oh, I don't know. I think... For me, it's just a bit too long, to be honest. Too many teams, a bit too long.
Yeah.
And again, if you've got that many teams, they're not the world elites. It's great if you're one of the so-called smaller countries who don't have the opportunities. And I can understand that side of things. However, for me, if it's the World Cup, I want to be seeing top teams going straight at it.
So presumably you would want to go back to a 32-team World Cup? Because it would be very unlikely for FIFA to row back on something. The other option is, if we're not happy with 48 teams, is to go even bigger and do 64 teams, but then you remove the whole third place finish. I'm guessing you don't want the latter, Jon. Would that be fair to say?
No, but as you've said there, the way FIFA are going, the way FIFA run things at the moment, we're likely to get a bigger World Cup than ever before if they have their own way, which I'm sure they're going to put to many countries. And of course, it's going to get a lot of popular support. If you're a country who's never been to the World Cup, you're going to say, yes, please, we'll take some of that.
Yes, yeah. I imagine it'd be popular in Ireland and Wales, maybe.
Scotland.
It has been incredible. It has. I mean, look, going into this tournament, I really was against sort of how big it is, but I don't know if it's a little bit of emotional heartstrings when having spent time with some of these the nations of other fans out here and really immersing myself. It's I'm kind of thinking it's a good thing. But John, I want to ask you, just sort of back to Argentina. Should Argentina go on to retain this trophy, right? And Messi does back-to-back, and this Argentinian team retains the World Cup. What sorts of conversations do we need to have? One, about Lionel Messi, if there's any more to be had, and two, about this Argentinian team, because maybe on the eye they might not be as pretty as France, they might not be as easy flowing, they're a different type of team, but to retain any World Cup, which I haven't got off the top of my head, doesn't get done very often, let's just say, is some achievement.
Well, I can tell you, Brazil 58 and 62 is the last time that a team have won it. So, it is tough. It's been a long old time, hasn't it, since anyone's done it. But, going into this tournament, the whole setup in Argentina was, it's not Messi who's going to be running the show. It's going to be the other players around him, and Messi will be a support role. Well, it's not turned out that way, has it? With 7 goals now, 39-year-olds. He just seems to be getting better. This version of Messi, for many, is better than the younger Messi in his 20s. So it's just phenomenal, really, how he just keeps turning up. And he's using his intelligence a lot more. His positioning is fabulous. Again, the run for the first goal. Okay, it had to be a fabulous pass as well. But to get into that position, to get away from the defenders, and then to bring it down and hammer it in, he's just getting better, isn't he?
Yeah, it's marvellous. I mean, look, Argentina, on paper, it was an easy game. It wasn't an easy game because we all know the game's not played on paper. But I'm sure in the last 16 they would have been very happy to draw Egypt, for example. After that, you're getting into, pure speculation. It could be Colombia, could be a massive semi-final awaiting them, whether it's, it could be England, it could be Norway, could even be Brazil. And I want to turn attention to Brazil if we can, John, because I believe that is where you are right now. Brazil, of course, beat Japan, and that was, for me, a proper canny performance from some battle-hardened players with a manager who knows what it takes to win a major football tournament. What was the reaction in Brazil after that game? Are they feeling more confident, or are there jitters after Japan were 1-0 up at half-time?
Well, in Brazil, everything is fantastic or it's totally awful. So, of course, winning is great. We're going to win it again now. Yeah. After the first game against Morocco, it was the opposite way around. Oh, this team's awful, we're terrible, we're going to go nowhere. And then a couple of wins, we're on the way to the 6. I think about...
I love that.
People, people have gone about Carlo Ancelotti, and for me, okay, he's got a fabulous record, and the changes went his way, but the crucial change at the end of that first half against Japan, Paquetá was injured. He could not continue. Now, Casemiro had a nightmare in the first half. People were saying, he was so brave keeping Casemiro on. No. But would Ancelotti have taken off 2 central midfielders? For me, no way. No way at all he would have done that. So he had to bring on someone else. His side also was struggling at the time. So he had to bring on an attacking player. And those changes worked out very, very well. But in some respects to me, I'm just throwing this out here, Ancelotti is what Napoleon used to call like a lucky general. He's a fabulous coach, but you get a bit of fortune on your side. Those changes worked out. I mean, Martinelli came on, Martinelli normally on the wings, and people say, it's fabulous, he's put Martinelli in the middle. Well, where else was he going to put Martinelli? Because you've got Vinny Jr. on the left-hand side.
You double up on those fullbacks, and it worked for them. I mean, you talk about a lucky general. You'd rather a lucky general than a good one, of course, as the old saying goes. I had no doubt they would win that game, and obviously easy for me being a neutral. I've got a feeling about this Brazil side, and it is the Ancelotti factor, to be quite frank. People saying they're so open in midfield. Yes, they are, but they've got 2 very, very handy centre-halves and a decent goalkeeper, but they've also got players going forward. But one of the other players they have is a young lad on the bench with the name of Endrick, and there seems to be a bit of a chat before the tournament and even after the first few games where the Brazilians were saying, can we see this guy, what has he got to do to get on the pitch, because Ancelotti just didn't seem to fancy him at all. Well, he brought him on against Japan. What's been the conversation around there, because there's been some amusing social media content certainly coming from Brazil over Endrick and Ancelotti.
Yeah, it's been interesting, hasn't it? Because before going into this tournament, of course, the whole Neymar scenario. And Neymar now seems to be shunted to the side. There's hardly anything about Neymar at the moment. Ancelotti's saying, oh, Neymar is frustrated. He wants to get onto the pitch, but he's being very, very professional. But the conversation has finally shifted away from Neymar. And there's been a lot of people who want Endrick out there, the former Palmeiras man, who had a fabulous, if you remember the game against England
I do.
at Wembley.
Oh, yeah, I was there.
When he came on.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Stormed his way through. Absolutely fantastic. And everyone was saying Endrick, he's the new Ronaldo or whatever, and then faded because he's a young player. And he's got to move to France, and his confidence has come back. But he's got fabulous ability and an amazing potential. So a lot of Brazilians, a lot of Palmeiras fans want to see him playing for Brazil.
Yeah.
But I think still at the moment he's going to be coming on from the bench as an impact player.
But what a player to bring on off the bench, of course. I mean, Brazil at the moment in this tournament reminded me slightly of England in a way. You know, obviously expectations can blow hot and cold very, very quickly. Foreign manager, of course, who's been brought in to get them to a position where, you know, they have a real chance of winning the tournament. They've not been that convincing, but the quality they have and maybe a bit of a canniness has got them through. I mean, with Brazil, what are the expectations right now against, say, Norway going into that game? Because Norway, quite famously, the only side that Brazil have ever played and never beaten.
Yeah, the expectations are always high. Brazil are favourites, but as you said, the record against Norway, well, I'll tell you what it is, 88 1-1 in a friendly. And then Norway beaten 4-2 in a friendly in 97, 98 in the World Cup.
I remember that one.
It's 2-1. Yeah, but Brazil had already qualified, as I remember, to the next stage. So they did rest a few players. And I think in 2006 as well, there's another game between the two where Norway drew in that one as well. So the record's fabulous. But it's going to be very, very hot tomorrow, when the game is tomorrow here in Brazil. Amazingly hot, at least 30, maybe 34 degrees in New York. So that's going to be a factor. Of course, Haaland is the centre of the attention. 5 goals already. He's got a terrific scoring record this year. It's 55 goals in 61 games for Erling Haaland this season, which is phenomenal. So the Brazilians are a little bit worried about the Norwegians.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, wow.
But it's going to be a good game, but Brazil have to be favourites. But they've gone out to European opposition since 2002. And that is a real worry now for the Brazilians. It's been 24 years since the last beat Europeans in Germany in the final, in Japan, South Korea. So that is hanging over the South Americans. That's
an extraordinary statistic, isn't it? Blimey O'Reilly. Well, it's going to be a great game, John. Thank you so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure, my man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Flex, Brazil. I mean, you mentioned Casemiro there, a man you know very well. You're a Manchester United fan. Yeah. I love the fact that people are saying he looks leggy, the ball's getting past him. Yeah, don't worry. He's good for a headed goal.
Clutch, mate. Clutch. This is what he does. At half-time, I'm not going to lie, I was with the Brazilians at the fan park here as well, and even I always want to back my boy. I was like, Cass, I think I've nearly done a Jamie Carragher, so it could be time again. Yeah. I think he's caught up again. He was having a real
nonsense,
a real bad one. But no, he just comes up clutch. It's what he does, and he was really good in the second half. And the Brazilians just found a way. Second half, they've really upped the ante. Vinicius Junior started getting involved. He sent Tomiyasu back to Haaland. He did a couple of times. He was unbelievable. And you just always felt that they would get that winner. But the Brazilian fans, I did want to say afterwards that I was interviewing after the game, and I was sort of saying, what needs to change for the next game. And it's interesting to hear what we just heard there. Actually, the ones I was speaking to were talking about Neymar, and they were like, Neymar, we need to see Neymar. Where's Neymar? Really? And Endrick needs to start. And I was like, but Neymar's. Yeah, he's in, I said it in a respectful way. Sure. I was like, he's finished, isn't he? It's probably how I said it.
Yeah, you were outnumbered. You thought I'm going to go in.
Yeah, they were like, no. I tried to bang the Mateus Cunha drum. I was like, I'm a United fan. What about Cunha? They were like, yeah, Cunha's great, but get that kid Endrick in and get Neymar starting, and we're going to win the World Cup. Is basically what they said.
Well, I tell you what. I mean, fine. There's plenty of people here saying that Trent Alexander-Arnold needs to come in for England, and then maybe we've got a chance. So you've always got some player, whether they're in the squad or not. Endrick, I get the argument for Endrick. I don't know. I think Ancelotti picked Neymar because he would rather have Neymar in the tent and peeing out of it than the other way round, shall we say? Excellent.
I think that's very fairly put.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. much. Right, coming up on the S Word, we've got Ali Howarth talking about the African sides. We've got a weather update from Flexico, of course we have, and we'll look ahead to France versus Paraguay. This is the S Word, sponsored by Kalshi.
Big name reaction from both sides of the pond.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
talkSPORT presents
The S Word.
Listen again and subscribe
Wherever you get your podcasts.
and on the talkSPORT USA YouTube channel.
Happy 4th of July, everybody. It's that day again. Come on. What a banger. What an absolute banger. Put in the banging banger, that song, Flex, I tell you what. Let us know how you're celebrating today in the comments. We'd love to know how you're getting on. Looking ahead to the US men's national team, of course, in their last 16 match. But we're going to turn our attention now to the African sides in this World Cup. It's just Morocco and Egypt left from the African contingent into the last 16. And to dissect this, we have African football expert Alistair Howarth on the line. Alistair, how are you?
Doing well, guys. Looking forward to my first ever 4th of July in the US. So, yeah, feeling good, feeling the American spirit.
Lovely, lovely stuff. Whereabouts in the US are you, may I ask?
I'm in Atlanta, having just seen the England-DR Congo game, and looking forward to seeing Egypt and Argentina.
Oh, yeah, indeed, yeah. Well, of course, only one of two African teams left in the tournament, just Morocco and Egypt. We'll get to them in a minute. First up, though, we've got to talk about Cape Verde, the one of the stories of the tournament so far. Oh, my goodness, it was valiant. What a game it was. Ultimately, they are out, but my goodness, Cape Verde have put themselves on the footballing map, haven't they, Alistair?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was looking at Lionel Messi's post-match interview, and he was talking about how, saying that the standard stuff. Yeah, we knew it was going to be a tough game. You can't underestimate anyone. But then he was saying, it's something I thought was very interesting. He said, we scored the first goal, which was the most difficult thing. And then we thought from there, we would be calm, we would take control of the game, we'd be able to press them, and we'd just dominate the game. And he said, we just couldn't do it. We couldn't press them. We couldn't relax. We couldn't get control of the game. And I think for me, that's what is, it just speaks volumes of what this Cabo Verdean team is. Yes, they can defend like dogs. They can also go toe to toe with Argentina.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that, look, it's how you spin this, I think, because on yesterday's S Word, some of the chat around the African sides was, there's only, well, at the time of that recording, there was only one. It was only Morocco. It was before Egypt had made it, but loads of them had gone out, and it disappointing. And I take that from an African point of view. Yes, of course, they would have rather have seen more go through. But I would actually spin that in a way more positive way and think, look at what DR Congo did. England are what, fourth favourites or fifth favourites, depending on who you talk to. DR Congo gave them a right old bloody nose and went toe-to-toe with them and nearly got something. Cape Verde with Argentina. Yes, these sides have ultimately gone out of the competition, but my goodness, they've left a huge impression. I think in 4 years' time, when the World Cup is in Spain, Portugal and Morocco, so it will be held on African soil, I think you're going to look at players and countries that are more experienced, they're more expected. I think it all bodes very well for them, Alistair. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I'm spot on. I totally agree. Look, this World Cup for me was a great justification for those of us who've been crying out, long before, since I was even born, since 1966, when, FIFA didn't even give CAF a full slot. Yeah. That if you give this continent, the access, the chance to represent itself well, it will. And it shows to me that this tournament, that there's so much strength and depth on the African continent. Bear in mind, Cameroon, arguably the greatest World Cup side from Africa, isn't here. Nigeria isn't here. What it also does tell me is, look, a lot of these teams are in uncharted water. Cote d'Ivoire, never been to the knockouts. DRC, never had won a game previously. Egypt, never had won a game previously. So I think I totally agree with you that, for me, as someone, yes, we're disappointed. We didn't get into the round of 16, see more teams. But I think, for me, it's the experience that matters. It's kind of building that. And like you said, next tournament, we will expect better. Next tournament, we will expect more teams to progress. And as we should.
In terms of the two that are still here, Ali, we're talking about, of course, Morocco and Egypt. I mean, just on the Moroccans, I mean, they went through in sensational fashion with Issa Diop with an absolute clutch header.
My Fulham man, get in there, up the Fulham.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh yeah, he doesn't play for West Ham anymore. Is that Fulham?
He doesn't even start games for Fulham. He does not start regularly for Fulham, and there he is, top man.
Incredible. But Ali, in terms of Morocco, like, there should actually be no surprises with Morocco, because, in the last World Cup, they were semi-finalists, mate. I think you can maybe correct me on this. Aren't Morocco like 5th or 6th in the rankings, top 5 team, something like that?
Yeah.
Like, they're an astonishing team, and they are very, very difficult to beat. We obviously saw the travesty what happened in AFCON, etc., etc. Won't go there. But in terms of their chances, as well as Egypt against Argentina, how far can the two African nations go? And Morocco should be favourites against Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about Morocco is, yeah, you're absolutely surprised. You're right. We shouldn't be surprised about Morocco reaching, the round of 16, the quarterfinals, even the semifinals. I think perhaps the surprising thing from, those of us who cover them is the rapid way in which they've completely transformed the way they play. Because bear in mind, 6 months ago, I was at that AFCON final. It was attritional. It was the exact same way they won they got to the semifinals of the World Cup in 2022. It was defense-first football. It was relying on an amazing header from, El Nasiri, or a free kick or a penalty, and you defend and you defend and you defend, and they were very well organized. This team that Mohamed Wafi has built in 3-4 months has completely changed the way they play. They dominate possession. They play attractive football. In extra time against the Dutch, Morocco had 83% of the ball. The Dutch couldn't get a hold of the ball. The Dutch didn't have, I don't think they had a shot in extra time.
Yeah.
Morocco completely dominated them. And I think for me, that's not surprising in the sense that that's the football Morocco want to play. And I was expecting them to develop that. But the fact that they've done it so quickly, that is the real surprising thing. And yeah, you're absolutely spot on. They should be the heavy favorites against Canada.
Yeah, I mean they've been brilliant, Morocco, and it is no surprise to anybody that they've been great at this tournament so far. And when you remind us of that switching playing style, it's so impressive. And I look at that and I think, blimey, I wish my team played like that at times. I mean, I remember in the first round, Scotland fans were saying they're more afraid of Morocco than Brazil. Yes, that does say a little bit where Brazil are, but it also, I think, more importantly, says where Morocco are. They're a really brilliant side. And you mentioned Cameroon earlier there. I mean, I remember the 1990 World Cup. That was my first World Cup, and I remember this team from nowhere turning up, and it was pre-internet days, of course, so you really did have surprise packages back then. You had no idea what to expect from teams around the world, and Morocco are not that, but I think that you had a bit of that with Cape Verde, if we can go back to them, because I'll be honest with you, I hold my hands up. I had not seen much of Cape Verdean football until this World Cup. I'd seen a little bit, but not much. But also the stories. Vazinha is one of the players at this tournament. The little grandma, that name means, I just, an amazing story. There Pico Lopez, the Irishman in the back line. He's from Ireland with a Cape Verdean parent. He's in the team as well. I mean, Ali, these stories are what the World Cup needed. I mean, Cape Verde again, it's such a likeable side, and we're not talking about this. I really want to hammer this point home. We're not talking about a side who have turned up, been dispatched fairly easily. Oh, but the fans were great. Blah 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 blah. It's not that. They got to the second round or the second phase, and they gave Argentina a game. And again, that just will go so far on the continent, and particularly in the nation of Cape Verde.
Yeah, look, I mean, Cape Verde is. The stories are endless. It's not just Vazinha, it's not just Pico, who, I love Pico Lopez, but you have guys like Kevin Pina, who scored that wonder goal against Uruguay from the free kick. He moved to the US when he was about 14 or 15, thought his career was over, which again, I think we should put into context. He left Cape Verde thinking he could become a professional player, went to the US and thought, right, there's no way I can become a professional footballer in this country. He happened to be playing in a pickup game where a former player, Calo, their former top goal scorer, essentially saw him, said, I think you're good enough to become a professional, come home with me. Convinced his parents, went back to Cape Verde. Now he's a professional and is doing great things with Cape Verde. João Paulo Fernandes, who came in for Sidney Cabral, he was a victim of human trafficking. He was scammed by an agent, then had issues with getting visas to get to Europe. Every single player in this team has remarkable stories. And I think Cape Verde, for me, is the best example of where it really doesn't matter where you're coming from. If you are well organized, if you run a tight ship, if you make the right decisions, if you make the right calls in terms of who you hire, the players you bring in, you can be successful against anyone. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the only African side you could make an argument who were disappointed with this tournament is Senegal, because for me, them and Morocco, quite clearly, I mean, flex they have. I mean, I forget which one of them is African champions. I know Senegal have the trophy under armed guard, but officially Morocco are the African champions. Doing extraordinary stuff there. They are the two.
Well, being 2-0 up as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Flex, you've got to give Belgium credit, but were you disappointed, Flex, in Senegal in this tournament? I mean, ultimately, they lost 3 games of the 4 they played.
Exactly. I think it was a really disappointing return, because when I look at some of the players they got, especially at the top end of the pitch as well, was some real difference makers. I just thought, and they got themselves into good positions, and being 2-0 up in that game against Belgium, and a quite uninspiring Belgian side, that you look at and you go, they're on their last legs as well. I just couldn't foresee that last 10 minutes. And
no,
I know people are a bit contentious about that penalty as well. For what my opinion's worth, I think it was. I do think it was just. But from being in that position when where you should be cruising into the next round, if I'm honest, and some of the Sarr, I mean, he's been a fantastic player for a really long time. From his time at Watford as well, you could really see this kid had something. And you forget he's been around for ages. I looked at him and goes, how old is Sarr now? I saw he's like 28. And you still think he's that sort of young kid who's just coming to the Premier League, but the goal he scored was absolutely brilliant.
One of those great forgotten World Cup goals.
Oh, 100%. So that just again adds into some of the disappointment that I feel for Senegal, because I really feel they should have gone further.
Yeah, they should have done, but it's just 2 African nations, both from North Africa, of course. Egypt will be playing Argentina in the next round. What did you think of Egypt against Australia, Ali? I didn't expect a huge amount from Egypt this tournament. It wasn't a great game, but they're in the last 16.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Egypt are another one who that's kind of all that matters. Like, you've got to remember, Egypt are arguably the most successful African nation ever. 7 AFCON titles, they have so much pedigree and history, and yet they have no pedigree or history at the World Cup. They hadn't won a match until this World Cup. And I think you've also got to bear in mind, this is an Egypt side that is only really 15 years on from the Egyptian Revolution, Port Said disaster, a time when, there was no domestic football in Egypt for 2 to 3 years. I think it's important that we remember that's the environment Mo Salah was coming into this Egyptian side. So it has taken a long, long time for Egypt to recover and get to this stage where they really belong. And look, they're not the most polished side. Hassan, their head coach, is better known for assaulting photographers and for, he genuinely, look him up. Him and his brother Ibrahim Hassan are absolute nuts. But the one thing
he's the Liam Gallagher of the World Cup. Love it.
I mean, he takes it to another level, genuinely. But the one thing that he's very good at is he has kind of identified that, look, we're not a great defensive team. We've got a lot of talented attacking players. Salah this is the best team he's ever been a part of from an Egyptian perspective. He actually has players like Ashur, like Marmoush, like Adel, like Hassan, who can play alongside him. And he said, look, we're not that great defensively, so we're just going to kind of try and keep a bit of a defensive shape and let the front four do their thing. And we've seen them do that. And they played with a lot of fun. They played with a lot of energy. I mean, check out their set piece routines. They're doing a lot of crazy things. And that's that way, their first goal came from a set piece. So I think from an Egyptian perspective, like, we're seeing them enjoy the World Cup, which I think is a huge thing. We're seeing Salah enjoy himself. Yeah. And we're seeing a team that is finally returning to where they belong. Absolutely, I think Argentina is a step too far. No, it's just great to see Egypt here.
Yeah, no, I totally take that. The only thing I would say is that, obviously, Mo Salah wasn't great for Liverpool in the season we've just had in the Premier League. Omar Mamouche is the other one. I mean, they're the two big names for us in the UK, and I'm sure in other parts of the world as well. I mean, it's good to hear you saying that they're enjoying their football. It certainly looked like it. Mo Salah certainly enjoyed his penalty in the penalty shootout last night. A big old smile and even a laugh from him after that. I mean, would it be fair to say we would? I would just like a little bit more from those two. I mean, Marmoush hasn't contributed any sort of assist or goals. I know there are other things that go on football pitches other than goals and assists and other contributions that get overlooked and so on. But I'm just wanting him a tiny bit more from those two.
Yeah, 100%, especially Marmoush. Look, Salah wasn't fully fit coming into this game. He's been struggling with a hamstring issue. And for a lot of us, there was a huge concern because they had flashbacks to 2018 when, going into the World Cup, when Salah had put the nation on his shoulders, qualified for them to the World Cup for the first time in almost 30 years. He then gets that suplex done on him from Sergio Ramos in the Champions League final. And he's suddenly battling back from injury, plays at the World Cup half fit, and has a terrible World Cup. So I think for me, there was a bit of an issue there with Salah. I was wondering, does he start? I don't know if he should. And we saw that he struggles with the physical side of the game. Absolutely. For 80 minutes of that game, he was kind of useless, just didn't do anything. But when the game slowed down, when they got to extra time in the last 10 minutes of normal time, we saw the quality he has. I mean, we saw him create 3 or 4 absolutely brilliant chances. I think for me, Marmoush is the one that we've been disappointed with. This is a guy who we have expected very, very good things from an Egyptian perspective for a long time, and he hasn't quite delivered. So I agree with you. I think there's levels for this team, and I think they will get better over the next few years. But again, I think we do have to, with a lot of these African nations, bear in mind the context of where Egypt are coming from, the context of them as a footballing nation being in the wilderness for so long, and the fact that they've never done it. They've never been in this place.
Yeah, no, it's a very important point to make, Alistair, and they've got a glamour tie against Argentina in the next round. Ali, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciated your thoughts there. Thank you. Right, before we go for a break, I'm going to tell you that we've got a weather update from that man in Mexico, or Flexico, should I say, coming up. We'll look ahead to France versus Paraguay, and Felipe Cardenas will be with us talking all things Colombia, Brazil, and one or two others. So look forward to that soon. You're watching the S Word, sponsored by Kalshi.
From the touchline to the terraces,
talkSPORT presents
the S Word.
S-Word.
Featuring Will Gavin and Master Tess Fassian.
And a squad of big-name contributors.
The S-Word
from talkSPORT.
Hello everybody, welcome to the S-Word. Welcome back to the S-Word, powered by talkSPORT. Of course, I'm Marcus Speller, in for Will Gavin today. Happy 4th of July to you all. Happy 4th of July. What a weekend it is. It's a World Cup weekend and it's the 4th of July. It doesn't come much bigger than that for your good selves in the US. Now, it's time to talk England. England, of course, playing Mexico in that huge last 16 tie at the Azteca tomorrow. I'm going to ask Flex shortly what the feeling is like in Mexico, because he's our man on the ground over there. But before we do that, one of the big narratives around this game is all the talk about altitude. How much of a boost will playing at over 7,000 feet give the already acclimated, as you believe you say there, and the hosts Mexico playing? Here's talkSPORT's Angelina Kelly on why playing in the Azteca is one of the most daunting tasks in World Cup football.
Welcome to Mexico City, home to the Azteca Stadium, which is the setting for England's round of 16 meeting with none other than Mexico. One fear for the Three Lions has been the altitude in this city and how it could affect the players. So here's everything you need to know. The Azteca Stadium sits at 7,220 feet above sea level. For context, London's highest elevation is 69 feet, and the highest altitude in a professional English stadium is West Brom's home, the Hawthorns, at just 551 feet. So what does the altitude mean for England's footballers? Well, the air will have around 20% less oxygen, meaning the players will breathe more heavily to increase oxygen uptake. But with less oxygen available to reach their muscles, physical performance is bound to be affected. The altitude could also affect the flight of the ball, as thinner air means that it can move faster. So Jordan Pickford will need to be on even higher alert when it comes to shots and crosses. For Mexico, they have a big advantage over England. Their competitive record at the Azteca includes 10 World Cup games unbeaten and only 2 defeats. Whilst a lot of their squad don't live in Mexico and play their domestic football elsewhere, they're fully acclimatised already and played Ecuador on Tuesday in Mexico, so have an extra day's rest over Tuchel's team. So what if England's players get altitude sickness? Well, symptoms can include headaches, dizziness, nausea, loss of appetite, exhaustion and difficulty sleeping. And to try and combat the effects of altitude, well, there aren't many options, minus the obvious of staying hydrated, meaning hydration breaks might be useful in this game, relaxing, eating well, resting, etc. According to research, it's all about when you arrive in Mexico City, and the possibilities are limited. Reports state that England will travel to Mexico on Friday afternoon, arriving just over 48 hours before kickoff. The ideal time to arrive would be 2 to 3 weeks prior in order to fully acclimatise, which obviously isn't possible. The next best thing is to arrive 6 to 24 hours before the game. However, FIFA's tournament regulations require that teams arrive on the eve of every match. Paired with research that the first night's sleep at a higher altitude can be seriously impacted and the second night easier, Friday makes sense. However, with Mexico fans having a track record of setting off fireworks and honking car horns outside the hotel of their opposition on the eve of a game, it's not looking good for the squad. Thomas Tuchel has said that the altitude will put England at a huge disadvantage. But considering how well prepared the team and the FA have been for this tournament, I would be very surprised if they didn't have a plan to deal with the altitude change on Sunday.
Well, thank you very much for that, Ange. A lot to think about ahead of this fixture between Mexico and England. Flex, you're our man on the ground in Mexico, or Flexico as we're calling it today. What did you make of all that from Angelina Kelly there, and what's the chat been where you are?
Yeah, big shout to Ange for the biology lesson there, because we need to understand more about it, and that is the other side of it, right? The scientific side of what the players are actually enduring. Us as fans and pundits, etc. Sort of get on with it. It's sort of, this is the elements. There's no excuses. You got to go and perform. But it's been quite funny actually, because we've been obviously doing thousands of steps, doing a lot of exploring, getting about the city, and a couple of times, not going to lie to you, Marcus, I was a bit, tell you what, struggling to breathe a little bit. But what I've done is, that's just me being unfit. But because I'm here, I have said...
That's the late nights talking.
Exactly, that is. But what I've told myself is it is due to the altitude. It is due to things going on.
Yeah, that's
that I'm
it.
not used to.
Yeah,
you know
I'll
what I mean?
what, yeah.
It's not easy. But
I experienced altitude on the London Underground the other morning. I was walking up them steps, and I tell you, altitude, absolutely.
Exactly. You're coming at London Bridge, mate, coming upstairs. It's some serious altitude.
That's what it was
funny when Ange said that the highest stadium we've got is the Hawthorns. That is
500 feet or whatever it was. Yeah. Oh dear me. I mean, the thing is, they have been. I think that the risk of being kind of naive and silly here is this all getting a little bit overblown now, because there have been other fixtures at this World Cup at the Azteca. I think the way that there's almost like this moral panic of how on earth could you play football there? I mean, this is like playing on the moon or something. Yes, the altitude is a consideration, and by the way, so are those Mexico fans outside the hotel. If I was Thomas Tuchel, I'd have a legion of lookalikes. I'd have decoy hotels all around the city. That's what I'd be doing. Yeah. But with regards to the altitude, yes, of course it's a consideration, but we didn't think that so much when South Africa played there in the opening game, or Ecuador played there most recently, if I'm right in saying it was there, and or whoever else has played at the Azteca at this World Cup. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, Mexico have the altitude in their favour because they've acclimatised or acclimated, as our American brothers and sisters would say. They have the home advantage, of course, but England have a better squad of players, Flex.
Yeah, we do, and I've been trying to strike this balance and sort of tell people back home who maybe haven't been watching Mexico play and haven't obviously, of course, got a feel for it. Now, my thing is less so the altitude. I think, listen, yes, it goes in Mexico's favour, but at the end of the day, just get on with it. These are highly tuned athletes. They will be really aware about what they need to do to look after themselves pre, post, and during the game, right? So let's put that to the side. One thing I will tell England fans back home, if you're thinking, yeah, but on paper, mate, we should be beating them. You know, Raul Jimenez, yeah, he's a good Premier League striker, but it's just gone to Wolves, maybe playing in the Championship next year, this, that, and the other. If you're thinking that, you will be mistaken. They are super physical. They're playing on the front foot. And I think actually, atmospherically, I think is actually probably the biggest factor. I don't think we'll have a problem with sort of the altitude and what the environment's going to be. I think it's more the stadia and managing the feeling,
that roar of the home
arena.
crowd and them cheering everybody. I mean, we've seen the scenes. It's been incredible out there from what I've seen on TV.
Mate, it's been absolutely. When I went to the fan park for that Ecuador game, of course, dressed up in Mexico shirts, it was incredible. Like, they're so warming. They want everybody to do well, apart from the other South American teams, which is quite funny. They embrace you. You know, we was jumping up and down, and then very, very quickly, as I was doing that, because, you're immersing yourself in World Cup culture, I went, I don't know if I want this smoke. I said, hold on a minute, I've got to come back to this fan park with my England stuff on. And I think it's going to be a bit different. I don't know if we understand what we're walking into here. So again, we have better players, yes. We have better quality, yes. And we almost have to play the game and not the occasion.
Yes,
but let me tell you something. If you think for 1 second that, come on, it's just Mexico, everyone's just hyping up this Azteca thing, everyone's just hyping up this Mexican, host nation hype. No, it's not hype, it's real. And in those first sort of exchanges, that first 20 minutes, half an hour, England need to know that they're going to be in for a hell of a game. They do not respect us in terms of they're scared. The fans are saying, bring it on. The players are playing out of their skin. And they do have talent, and they have been playing very well, and they haven't conceded a goal in this tournament as well. People say, who have they played, this, that, and the other? But just respect the opposition is all I would urge people to do back home. Don't be pessimistic. Don't think that we're obviously not going to win because it's too difficult and this, that, and the other. No, this is why we've brought Thomas Tuchel in. No excuses. We do have the better players. We do have the better squad. And I do believe we will find the moments needed to win, like we've done in all the other games. But just like we saw against DR Congo, just like we saw against Panama, there are no easy games in this tournament, especially now when you add in all of the connotations that go around this type of fixture in this type of stadia.
No, I couldn't agree more, mate. All right, well, let's hear from Marcus Rashford now. He caught up with talkSPORT's Faye Carruthers, and she was asking him about the prospects at playing at such an iconic stadium.
Marcus, what do you think of the Azteca in terms of a venue, and where does it rank in terms of the iconic stadiums that you've played at?
No, I think it's a great stadium. It's obviously worked well for them in the past, but although that's irrelevant to us, we know what we're going there to face, and we have to try to control the game and play our game. It's as simple as that. Whatever gets thrown at us, we try to deal with it and keep moving forward.
And what are you expecting from Mexico?
I think so far they've shown that they're difficult to score against, and they've been scoring goals, especially early on. So. It's a team that's they're set in their ways in terms of playing style, and they're effective. But there's lots of great teams in the tournament, and if we want to get to the final and win it, we're going to have to come up against them and find a way to win.
Marcus Rashford there talking about the prospect of facing Mexico at the Azteca. Flex, I've been to the Azteca Stadium. It is an amazing place, a proper cathedral of football, and you get that sense of history as well. Plaques on the wall outside. The greatest goal of all time scored by Diego Maradona against England, of course, the match of the century between Italy and West Germany in 1970 and whatnot. I mean, this is the type of game, all kind of chat about altitude and who's got the better side and blah, 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 all aside. This is the type of game, as a professional footballer, you want to be involved in. I mean, Joe Hart was saying that the other day. He was just like, get me there. I want to come out of retirement.
Jealous,
I understand the atmosphere, intimidating and so on, but these are the moments that can define a football career, and certainly moments that will be memorable for all the players playing.
That's exactly it. You have to relish this type of opportunity. You have to embrace it. This is sort of pinnacle of career stuff. And again, people can look at the team that they're playing against name for name and say, well, why would you say that? But it's what it means. It's what it means to play in this stadium with everything that's happened before it. But it is kind of weird as well, Marcus, because it's like the players do also need to treat it. And that's where I'm torn. They do also need to treat it. And I'm glad Marcus Rashford is talking like this. Like just another game against a really good opposition.
Yeah.
If you get caught up in, oh my God, down that end is where the hand of God occurred. Oh my God, down that end is where Pele did this, or Carlos Alberto did this. Oh my God, look where I am. If you're in awe of this, it's going to swallow you up.
Yeah.
England, once the whistle is blown and they cross that white line, they need to be ready for battle. And actually, I have seen a lot of us be quite pessimistic about this and quite negative about this game. I do want to be quite positive in terms of, you look at how our team has been constructive for all of its failings that I always push back on the show Inside England that me, Rory and Ollie Klink do. They're on this, like, England got the second best midfield in the tournament and this, that and the other. And as we've seen, it doesn't transpire into controlling games and having a really high technical level in games. We haven't been great, but we found moments, right? But when I look at what our team is good at, we are physical. And in the Premier League right now, physicality and that robustness is at an all-time high. That's exactly what we want. We're great at set pieces, which is, again, going to be crucial. And when I look at the steel of this England team, the people that can find moments, when I'm looking at Harry Kane, when I'm looking at Jude Bellingham, he's super physical, can drop into midfield and help. Declan Rice is playing through the pain barrier. He's been, really, really good. I know people have been criticising him, but I think in what he's gone through and how many games he's played, he's putting it all out there. Elliot Anderson, first time at this level, but physical, powerful. You look at Gahey and Konsa. Yes, there's some discrepancies with us at the back, but again, physicality and power is there. Dual winning is there. So I do think there's a lot for us to be positive about, but we also just can't be naive. If you're an England fan thinking this is just Mexico, we should be steamrolling them, I'm telling you, you're wrong. This is not going to be an easy game, but we do have the tools to be able to beat them. We have the quality to be able to beat them. And yes, we haven't been perfect, but when you possess people like Jude Bellingham, like Harry Kane, who have been the difference makers so far, we always got a chance of pulling off big results. And I think we will do it, but I'm telling you, it is not going to be easy. And what I've also been doing is planning my route of exit for winning versus losing. In this, I've also been doing a lot of stuff on Google Maps, trying to work
is that
out
right?
strategically. Yeah, because I've also got some Mexico shirts with me that I've been, so I can quickly slide into them.
Lovely, lovely.
If England win,
Yeah, I like
that. They've been great, and I'll be going down there proud, wanting England to win and putting aside that sort of romance that I've got with Mexico at the minute, because I'm telling you, I've absolutely loved it here. The Mexicans are amazing, the food's amazing, the city's amazing, weather's incredibly unpredictable, crazy.
It is. I think
mad.
More than people might think. I mean, I've been to Mexico. Mexico City is a brilliant place, as you say. The culture and everything, very, very likeable, and you can get involved in it just straight away, which is glorious.
Yeah.
But I went in April and May. I think are the sort of the hottest times of the year where the sun is the most consistent. But if you look at the weather in Mexico City, that's why the kickoff time was chopped and changed, because they were worried about the storms and so on and so forth. So the weather may not be that bad for those England players. It'll be humid, but the temperature may not be that bad. So we shall see. You mentioned a number of the England players there, Anderson, Rice and Bellingham. I assume that those three will be the starters for England in that midfield. Where on the pitch do you think the positions are up for grabs, and who would you like to see starting in those areas where people may have question marks?
I think this is a really interesting question, right? So you look in defence, right? Me personally, I think this game is going to be really contested on physicality, right? And making sure that we're up to it. So I was talking about this with Rory the other day, and he's saying start John Stones over Konsa. And next to Gahey. He's a better player. We need some experience in there. John Stones has been there, done it. I push back. And for me, I'm going Ezri Konsa and Gahey all day here. I just think the levels of physicality needed. John Stones has had one start. And if this was a John Stones that was fit and primed and ready going into this and was in his groove, I wouldn't really have any pushback against it. But I just think for the physicality and power that's going to be needed and how many duels we're going to have to win, and looking at counter-attacks as well, I need those two quick, strong guys in there in terms of Gahey and Konsa. So I think that's one where you could look at it for Thomas Tuchel of, does he do that? Because it is a fair comment of, this is a big game. Do you want one in there who's a bit more experienced? And also at right back, because if Jed Spence starts, would you then also want, because he's inexperienced at this level, would you then have more reason to play a John Stones as well? Because you've also got a back four in there then who've really never played at this level. But John Stones over Reece James. Listen, Reece James, I absolutely got no problems with him, coming to the World Cup and being the starting right back, because he's the best one. Sure. But we always, I hate to say it, would know that he would probably break down with something.
It didn't
but he's been
surprise
out
too
for the
many
last
people,
two games. Didn't surprise, apart from Thomas Tuchel's only person he's surprised by it, which was ridiculous. But he's had 2 games off. For me, you start your best players. But one thing Jed Spence is good at, and I know he took a lot of stick in the last game, especially for the goal that we conceded, which I think is too much.
I think it was harsh on him. Yeah.
It was very harsh. He had to come across because, again, shape-wise as a team, we just got it all wrong. So it wasn't Jed Spence's fault. But I would say this, in terms of that physicality, again, and recovery pace, Jed Spence brings that. He brings a lot of high-intensity play and excessive duel winning. So if he does play Jed Spence over Reece James, I wouldn't be mad. I would understand the thinking. But personally, I would go with Reece James. What do you reckon to that, Marcus?
If Reece James is fit and he's ready, you play him. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
He's an actual right back, and he's our best one. So I think that is the conversation would be killed dead there. Whether Reece James is fit and available, we will find out in due course. My last question to you about England before we go for a break: should Marcus Rashford start?
Yeah, that was what I was going to get to next. I mean, I've always been pushing this that Marcus Rashford is 100% a better player than Anthony Gordon. And the first 2 games in the World Cup, we were pushing for Rashford to start the third one against Panama because Anthony Gordon didn't do enough. And on meritocracy now, Anthony Gordon, to give him his flowers, he's one of the reasons we're in the next round. He came off the bench and got 2 assists. The first one was really good. And again, off the ball, he's going to work hard. He's going to work in intensity. But again, I'm still going back to my core principles, and that is at tournament level, in the big games against the big nations, when it really matters, you play your best players first. I'm not excusing Marcus Rashford's poor form. In the last game, I think he was really bad, lucky to stay on as long as he did. But I think give him another go. It's against Mexico. I still think Marcus Rashford is the guy to start. So I would start him. And of course, if it doesn't go right, you know what Anthony Gordon's all about. And the same on the right-hand side. If Saka is fit enough, I don't even think it should be a conversation. However, we know that a lot of these England guys played a lot of games, especially the Arsenal boys, and they're nursing injury. So if he's not fit enough, don't start him. Start Madueke. But for me, I'm going Rashford on the left and Saka on the right all day.
Interesting, and Saka on the right. Very, very quickly, one more quick question. Would you like to see Marcus Rashford back at Old Trafford next season?
I'm torn, mate. I am really torn. I'm not as against it as I was, but I do feel like it's going to be a typical Man United thing when we just don't cut the cord when we're supposed to, don't move on when we're supposed to. So I still think I'm leaning more towards the right thing for him to do is for all parties to go their separate ways. I still think that will happen. However, as it stands, the World Cup's going to finish and he's coming back to Carrington, mate. He's not going to be in the bomb squad. He's going to be integrated into the squad. And with the way the market is, right, everything is inflated. And Man United got a lot of work to do and we've lost targets as well. So if we, instead of buying a £55 million left mid in Somerville or someone else, you keep Marcus Rashford. He's a player there. There's a new environment. There's Carrick there for let's see how it goes, and invest the money elsewhere. But I still think deep down, it's best he probably moves on.
Well, look, if you and him love Mexico so much, maybe you'll open a bar together or something and stay there. Hey, some tacos, something like that.
I'm up for that.
I thought you would be. Okay, we're talking France next, and the excellent Felipe Cardenas will be with us later as well. You're watching The S Word, sponsored by Calci.
The S Word with Will Gavin and Master Tesfacion
from talkSPORT.
Words here. Just 2 hours of full-on football dialogue.
Every day.
talkSPORT presents
The S Word.
Start spreading the news.
Welcome back to The S Word, everybody, powered by talkSPORT. I'm Marcus Speller, in for Will Gavin. Happy 4th of July to all of you in the United States of America. What a day. It's Saturday, it's Independence Day, it's the 4th of July, and we've got two games, two knockout games in the last 16 today in the World Cup. Canada versus Morocco at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and then France versus Paraguay at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Flex is with me. Flex is in Mexico. He is on a campaign trail to get the place called Flexico for the next few days, or however long he's in the country. That may or may not be true. Flex, Canada versus Morocco. One of the other hosts is up in action. My goodness, what a tie for them. Morocco, of course, I don't think it's fair to call Morocco dark horses. I think they're too good for that. It's a bit like saying, can I have Brazil or Germany as dark horses? Well, maybe you can have Germany these days as dark horse. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout, to be fair.
Yeah, I think that horse got shot in the previous round. And, of course, Paraguay were the team that did it. But let's start with France, shall we, and Paraguay, before we get to Canada and Morocco. France, pre-tournament favourites for a lot of people, and they have backed that up with some scintillating performances so far at the World Cup.
They look scary, mate. They look scary, and you talk about no surprises. Like we talk about teams like Morocco. There's also no surprises with France. They're doing everything that people thought they would. The individuals that have been highlighted going into the tournament, i.e. Mbappe, i.e. Elise, are doing exactly what we thought they would. And their results have said exactly the same thing. They're just sweeping people aside with swashbuckling football, unbelievable quality, leaving their opponents just doing nothing but essentially applauding and saying, well, obviously, what could we have done? And I think sometimes the hype with these type of teams don't always manifest itself into the performance and the output, but it's been a joke. It's been an absolute joke. And I remember actually in that Senegal game that France had, that first half, Senegal missed 2 big chances. And that was me thinking, actually, just before half time, I think Sarr missed one, and I went, this is showing that actually maybe France could be got at. This is showing this. And then second half, we all saw what happened.
They've not looked back at it.
And then since then, they haven't had those sorts of moments now. So it's just been incredible. Kylian Mbappe,
he
mate,
loves the World Cup. He absolutely loves it.
The World Cup, bro. And what he's doing is incredible. And you know what? We were talking to Eric Bilderman on the show, of course, in the lead up to this, and he was saying Mbappe is this sort of enigma of, we all know how amazing he is here in France, but it's sometimes his character and his ego and things like that can get in the way. And some France fans were sort of saying, which one are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that kind of fits seamlessly in with the team, etc.? And Mbappe said, listen, don't you worry about me. Just keep my name out your mouth. I'm just gonna me and Messi are just gonna go and do this thing over here. That's what we're gonna do. And it's been incredible.
They've got World Cup Mbappe again, as if they were going to get anybody else. And rightly, he scored loads of goals already at the tournament. One of his partners in crime is Michael Elise, who's been brilliant at this tournament. He's yet to score, but my goodness, some of the assists, and they're proper assists. It's not the guy who passes it to the guy who then thumps it in from 30 yards. The threaded passes from Elise have been absolutely delightful. It's like he's got it's a radio controlled ball or something he's got. He had a spectacular effort in the previous game which hit the post. He's been brilliant. I'm still gutted he never declared for England. He went for France as well. But how crucial is Michael Elise in this France team with that link and connection and understanding he has with Kylian Mbappe?
Oh mate, good. On a personal, I'm glad he didn't choose England, because he, knowing us, we would the media would be on him. His attitude, we're not quite sure on him, or we'll find some way to take the beautiful game out of his game, and just I don't know. It would just be a catastrophe knowing us. But yeah, he's incredible, mate. He's incredible, and you look at how good he's been this season at Bayern Munich. Harry Kane's got all the plaudits, but you have to remember that the Bundesliga Player of the Year is not Harry Kane. It's Michael Elise, and that shows you just how good he has been for club and now country. And you're wanting him to deliver on the big stage. The hype be justified. He's gone up incrementally from his days at Reading, at Palace, and now Bayern Munich. The jump he's made to being a thoroughbred superstar, a Ballon d'Or contender, is just unbelievable. The way he plays the game so nonchalantly, the skill he possesses, the understanding of the game, and actually how deceptively quick and strong he actually is on the ball.
Yes.
And I think left backs are just having nightmares with him, because when he drifts inside as a left back, you probably don't want to go in there. He has that he's now developed the Robben-esque shot where he's coming in on that left foot, half a jink, half a feint. I know you're going to pull the trigger, but I can't stop it. And now he's added that as well. outside of the boot. You know,
he's got it all. He's got it all.
He's just got everything, mate.
What I find, I mean, if you think about what he's been doing at Bayern Munich, as you say, he's played a season and all that. Playing with Harry Kane, totally different type of player and forward to Kylian Mbappe. It does not matter who is playing next to him up there. He's just thinking, don't worry, mate, you're in for a load of goals because I'm going to be assisting you all day long. I mean, it's such a lovely player to watch, Michael Olise. And that front line, as you say, is there anywhere that you think France can be got at all? Because that front line is what we're all talking about. They've got a great goalkeeper as well. They've got William Saliba at the back. I mean, someone said, maybe Luca Dean on the left side of defence is perhaps a potential weak link. But, I mean, I just think the way that... Mate. Yeah, I mean, you're clutching at straws, aren't you? I mean, the way...
We're just trying to find something.
Will the weather get to them? I mean, that's the funny thing. They've even got fresh legs. You look at the amount of minutes they've all played. It's far fewer than a lot of the other sides, particularly England. So and also as well, they've got squad harmony and great cohesion because you remember you have to go back a fair few years when none of these players are involved, so it may not even be relevant. But when they kind of imploded at South Africa 2010 and so on, and blah 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 blah, you're trying to think of an argument an argument against France winning this tournament. And yes, of course, they may well be beaten by a very very good, a superb Moroccan side or a Spanish side or something like that. No disrespect to Paraguay, Flex, but I just don't see Paraguay winning this game and pulling out a famous result like they did against Germany.
Yeah, you're spot on, mate. I mean, if we are being hypercritical to try and find some form of Achilles heel in this French side, okay, let's look at the fullbacks, Jules Koundé and Luca Dean. Still very good players, by the way, but in 1v1 situations, maybe if you could isolate specifically those two and make sure Upamecano and Saliba also aren't there to sweep up if you get past them, then you might find something there. But other than that, they're just too good, and the strength in depth is just too strong. Yeah. Paraguay did amazing. What they did against Germany was really incredible, to be honest. I don't think a lot of people had that down, and it's a really damning time for German football. I think Jurgen Klopp's going to have a lot to say about that, should he get this job to rebuild German football, because it's been really embarrassing for them recently. But Paraguay, this is a different test. This is a completely different test. I don't think they're going to get near them, mate. Honestly,
no,
I think this is
play for
another walk in the park.
Play for penalties, 100%. Lads. That's your strength. By the way, on your point about German football, could we see a reverse? An Englishman maybe comes in and helps the German national team, or is that?
I don't think they would do it. No,
they're going to hire Sean Dyche, maybe. Or go for I don't know, Roy Hodgson.
Sean's too busy on Instagram at the moment. He's killing it.
Too busy on talkSPORT as well. The other game today is Canada versus Morocco. Morocco have impressed us all, but Canada, I think, have maybe outperformed some people's expectations. Jesse Marsh said that this game is essentially a free hit for his side. Do you think that's the right message? I mean, Jesse Marsh has been front and centre. He's very much put himself front and centre with all the chat around Canada. Yeah. What do you think of that idea of it being a free hit for Canada?
In terms of, I see what he means.
Yeah.
I don't think he should be putting that forward. They're a home nation. They're a home nation. They're a host nation. They've been involved in some really good games. I like the way his team plays. I know Jesse Marsh can be quite eccentric, and sometimes the way he conducts himself,
performative
do a
is the
bit
word,
too much.
Flex.
People don't really like it. It was the same when he was in the Premier League.
Yeah.
He did the same thing at Leeds, and even when he was on Monday Night Football a couple of times, a lot of people enjoyed his analysis. Really good coach, etc. But yeah, I know that performative side. All right, we'll leave that there. But I think in terms of rankings and experience, though, Morocco are heavy favourites, and they should be. They're a way better side than Canada in every facet. But it does sound a little bit defeatist. I wouldn't expect someone like Jesse Marsh, who is also on that bit performative side. I'd probably expect him to say something the opposite to that. Sounds a little bit defeatist. So I expect Morocco to go through, though. I really do.
I would.
The Canadians have been good. They've been good.
They have. But I think they've been a credit to this. I think they've been a credit to this tournament. The fact is, they are the last 16. My feeling would be on Jesse Marsh. There is that he's trying to take the pressure off his players, because if his players are thinking, "Whoa, okay, this is a proper side we're playing now." All the other games, you could make a reasonable argument, other than the Switzerland game, that Canada have got a really good chance to win this game. In fact, even with the Switzerland game as well, you could say that. I think that his idea now is to try and take the pressure off the players and go play there with freedom. Do not get the nerves. Do not let the nerves get to you. And I think that's fair play to him. We saw Alfonso Davies in the previous game. He got some minutes. I was really pleased for Davies that he got some playing time because he's clearly not fit. He's also one of the best Canadian players of certainly his generation, you could say all time. And it would have been such a shame if we never saw him at all play for Canada at this tournament. It's probably unlikely he's going to start here, but he's having played a little bit of something, maybe towards the end of the game, if they're needing a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of canniness or whatever to try and see the game out, or indeed maybe if they need something going forward. Would you think, Flex?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're in Canada's position and you haven't been here before like this, you need to draw on all the experience that you have. And for them, it's unfortunate that somebody as good as him has just been so unavailable.
It's such a sickener, isn't it? It's such a shame. Yeah,
you just don't want that to happen. But at the same time, you can't just throw him in there if he's not ready. You know that, especially against Morocco. By the way, you don't play games. You don't. And he's had a lot of serious injuries. Alfonso Davies. That's the one thing I really do fear for him and feel for him, because he's when he was sort of in his peak, when he was injury free, one of the best left backs in the world, mate. Honestly, unbelievable. Quality but that stock has just kind of fallen. Super quick, super direct, super powerful. But his stock's fallen through injury and lack of consistency over the last few years. He just hasn't been able to get it together from at Bayern. So, but look, one thing I would say though is in his absence though, what the Canadians have shown is togetherness, and actually in Jesse Marsch's image, that's what I really like about them is they play in his way. Yeah, he's after that. I remember listening to him in the first game against Bosnia when they drew. They were 1-0 down from a set piece, and then they asked him what did he say to his players, and he was just like, this is our identity is to go after people and play with intensity, and they've done that since then. They do play with wingers who go at you, and
good physical
Jonathan
side,
David up front, and always say a really, really good physical side, and they've got guys who can impact the game from the bench as well, who have been doing that. So I think they'll give a good account of themselves, but I just think this one's going to be a step too far from us.
Yeah, you would think that a step too far. I mean, the smart money would be on France and Morocco facing each other in a quarter-final on this side of the draw. Yeah. But you never know in football. You never know. Okay, right. Well, we're going to go for a break, and then after which we've got Felipe Cardenas in with us, talking all things World Cup. It's going to be great. We are watching the S Word, sponsored by Kalshi.
Bringing all the biggest football debates
stateside.
The S Word
from talkSPORT. people who love football in North America. And I mean the proper kind, where you only use your feet.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
She says we gotta hold on to what we've got. It doesn't make
Welcome back to the S Word, everybody. I'll stop right there. You got to love a bit of Bon Jovi, haven't you? Come on. We're all living on a prayer as England fans, let's be honest. But hey, could be our year. You never know. It's the S Word powered by talkSPORT. Happy 4th of July, everybody. That's it, Flex. You do it for me, my old son. Are they into Bon Jovi in Mexico? Have you not had those conversations yet?
Haven't heard much of Bon Jovi here. If I'm honest, no, I haven't.
Okay, get yourself over to New Jersey, where I'm going to assume everybody is a Bon Jovi fan. Even if they are not, I'll see things my way. Thank you very much. Now, I'm delighted to say, joining us to round off the show is the excellent Felipe Cardenas of The Athletic. Felipe, lovely to have you with us.
Hey, good morning, guys. What's going on?
Oh, we're just talking about
Felipe.
football and hanging out, Felipe. Is there anything better in life, my man? Felipe, let's start with the hosts. The champions, Argentina. They were playing Cape Verde last night. Flex and I were talking about this earlier on in the show. Argentina managed to squeeze through, but they got a scare from the African team.
They did, and I mean, it was just a memorable game. I think we're probably all still buzzing from watching the highlights, watching Lopez Cabral's worldie, a goal that I think I just saw a funny joke saying that'll keep him, he'll become a FIFA legend from there. He'll be being paid by FIFA every 4 years in the future now. Showing up at every World Cup and every box.
Royalties off the goal.
Oh, he'll know what a FIFA lunch looks like after that goal, and that is a lovely old job.
Exactly. Yeah. 20 years from now, we'll see him in one of the executive suite at a World Cup. But I mean, I'll tell you what, guys. I was emotional after that game. Like I was overcome with stress during the game for both teams. We were watching it with my colleagues, thinking, we might have to write, analyze, discuss one of the biggest upsets, if not the biggest. Probably would have been the biggest upset in World Cup history. And then you see Argentina do what Argentina does, not play great, but figure out a way to compete and win a game. And just seeing the Cape Verde players after that, heartbroken, but having given everything, having proved to the entire world that they can play, they belonged here. And I want to correct a lot of things that I've heard, like, oh, they're an example of the expanded World Cup. No, they would have qualified in a 32 team.
That's right. Yeah,
World
absolutely.
Cup.
Yeah.
Forget that.
Like they weren't given an invite here. They finished second in their group. They topped Cameroon. This is a good team. And so just seeing the players and we're sort of remembering what we witnessed over the course of their games and what they put out there was just really exciting.
Yeah, no, it was great. After seeing that, I mean, Argentina, they had really kind of strolled to this point of the tournament, and some, one or two people I was talking to were saying that other than an Argentina kind of hit job in the final, they can't really make an argument for France not winning this tournament. Well, after that performance last night, are you confident that Argentina could go on and relift the World Cup trophy, or are there a few little doubts maybe creeping into the back of people's minds now?
I mean, what I would say is that, like, I'm not saying I was the guy that knew this, but coming into the tournament, I had my doubts about Argentina. Obviously, it's a very good team, and they're a team that they just know how to fight till the end to get a result. They are used to not playing the best football all the time, but they have Messi. They have him still. They are world champions, and this is an Argentina team. When you think of Argentina national teams, across the last 20 years, this one stands out because they've won everything. Yeah. Like Argentina since '93 until 2021 didn't win. They had great teams, but they flopped. And this team has done the opposite. But coming into this World Cup, their preparation wasn't great. They didn't play stellar opposition. The players began to admit it because the press in Argentina was starting to get concerned. Like, this team is older. They're relying on Messi too much. They're not prepared. And now we're seeing what can happen with when the legs aren't there, the depth on the bench isn't there. And still, yes, you have Messi, and he was wonderful yesterday. He was ridiculous. ridiculous yesterday, Messi, with the goal and the assist. His service from the corner kick was just like, it was as if he was tossing it with his hand.
Yeah.
Putting it right on people's heads. And so they have that. But, I think when you look at the whole, you start to see some of the weaknesses and the flaws in this team, and they're 100% a beatable team. They just still have that grit and that belief that in the end they're going to pull it out.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. They almost occupy that ground that Germany used to occupy. You can never count out the Germans, and I feel that, well, evidently you can and have been for a while been able to count out the Germans. But the Argentinians, you talk about it, whether they've got the quality or the grit, they get it done. They could find themselves in a match against Colombia in the tournament if things progress as one might suspect. And Colombia beat Ghana 1-0 last night. And I'd love to talk about Colombia if we can, Felipe, because I think this is a side who are kind of going under the radar a little bit. They're not scoring a huge amount of goals, but they're getting the job done. And the way they play, the legs they have in the team, the firepower, which hasn't quite clicked yet, a little bit profligate in front of goal. This is a team who could really, if indeed they do go through and face Argentina in the quarterfinals, I think that if I was an Argentina fan, I'd be worried about the prospect of playing Colombia later in this tournament.
Well, Argentina fans are, and I think what's interesting about Argentina is that they're known to be very competitively arrogant in South America, right?
It has been suggested before.
Yes, just a little bit.
Yeah. They don't typically talk about their opponents in a nice way or try to put them at the same level. And ever since I would say, obviously, the Copa America, the final in 2024, when Argentina narrowly won in extra time, beat Colombia in Miami in that final, and Colombia had been the star of that tournament, just a wonderful team together, attacking team, and they narrowly miss out on a huge title, losing to Argentina. And since then, that became South America's new rivalry. Yes, Argentina-Brazil will always be Argentina-Brazil, but Brazil's down, and Colombia has risen to a point where in the Scaloni years, in the Lionel Scaloni years, where Argentina has continued to win and they've won 2 Copa Americas and a World Cup, the one team in South America that is always there nipping at their heels, getting results, putting them against the ropes has been Colombia. And the Argentines now, the popular streamers, the big journalists, the big hot take people in Argentina, they've said for the last month, if we play Colombia in that quarterfinal, we're concerned. And they show this respect to Colombia that they don't show to any other opponent in the world, which I just, as a Colombian, I've seen Colombia lose so many times to Argentina. It's just like, that's what happens. That's football heritage. It's somewhat shocking to me to see the Argentines say, okay, this team, if we meet them, watch out. So, flying under the radar, perhaps. I think the internally in that Colombia team and anyone that follows them, since Nestor Lorenzo took over, an Argentine who was an assistant under Jose Pekerman in the 2014 and 2018 World Cups. This is a team, like a veteran team, one of the not oldest in terms of age, but just one of the more experienced teams in the World Cup. A team that has been through it together, losing a huge final in Miami, like I mentioned, and failing to qualify in 2022 for Qatar. So they've been punched in the gut pretty severely. And they've just come together at the right time. So, yes, Lucho Diaz not finding that sweet spot with his runs, and he should have probably, 5 or 6 goals, honestly, if he would just hold on a second and stay on side. But this Colombia team, I think they're just feeling it. They're a confident team.
Yeah, and of course they've got an Argentinian in charge, in Nestor Lorenzo, as they have done a number of times. The amount of Argentinian coaches that manage other South American sides, it's a thing of beauty. It's a wonderful thing. And I love that flex that Felipe said there, that Argentina and Colombia have always got this rivalry. Is there any country in the world that Argentina couldn't at some point have a football rivalry with? They've obviously got one with us. Now, we know the reasons for that. I don't go into that. You've mentioned Brazil, the Dutch. They're at the throats of the Dutch, the Germans. They absolutely love it, don't they? They are the ultimate.
They love being the villains.
They love being the villains. Yes, I couldn't use the word that I would want to use. You know where I was going with that, Flex. But
I knew what you were going to say. I knew what you were going to say.
Everybody knew. They love a bit of the housery, should I say? But yes, Flex, they do love being the villains. But Flex, have you seen Colombia much at this tournament? Because you talk about the Mexican fans, the Colombian fans, the feeling and the vibe around that team is huge.
There are so many Colombian fans here. There is, and you see, I mean, in the stadiums, of course, when you watch it on TV, you just see this sea of yellow around all of the stadiums. So whoever they're playing against, it does feel like a home game. But yes, as soon as what's really good at the fan parks is like the smooth transition between games, and like this transition of like different the bright colours, because obviously it's such a bright. Yellow, isn't it?
I'm envious of that. I'm always envious of the Dutch, the Swedes, the Colombians. Yeah, it just pops, right? Doesn't it? Yeah, totally.
It just pops differently. So you just see all of the fans that were leaving from the Argentina game in Cape Verde, which, like I said, there wasn't many Cape Verdeans. They were just all Mexicans, right, in their Mexican shirts, trying to hate watch Argentina, which didn't work. We nearly got it, right? And then you just see this wave of yellow, just start coming into the fan park, and it just merges into one. And then as I was walking out to go and do some work, I was like, wow, it's like 90. Where have all the Mexicans gone? Where did the Colombians come from? So yeah, they are taking over, man, when they turn up, and I can't wait to see how they progress in this tournament, because they are. And I feel like Colombia always get that tag as well. Like, you know, when before a tournament starts.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Like dark horses, right?
Yep.
Everyone goes, "Who's your dark horses?" And for a while, people used to say Turkey. So, you know, Turkey, I feel like they're just going to stand there. It always used to be them. And then, but Colombia is always that team that if you haven't watched much of them, you might not have watched any games, but just over this side of the world, we always just say, oh yeah, it's those Colombians, man. You got to watch out. And sometimes we don't even base it off anything. Like, Felipe, obviously you're well versed in this. You're an expert on this. And I'm just saying, like, over this side, you'll get people from the UK, haven't watched a Colombia game in ages, just go, Colombia, mate.
Yeah.
Colombia.
They are fans. They're always that outside bet for people in this country. Felipe, before we let you go, can I get your thoughts on the England versus Mexico game? What do you think about this one?
Well, I've spent time in Mexico City this World Cup. I was at the opener, and it was just an incredible environment to see the Mexicans behind their team. And then I was in Mexico City again. I was at the Azteca for the Ecuador game. And I think the progression in frenziness, in fanaticism has grown. And it's something that it's difficult to put your finger on, but it is palpable when you're there. Flex, you're probably starting to feel it. Like, this is a country that they will turn on their national team at the flip of a coin, and that has not happened at this World Cup. They are completely spellbound by the national team. It doesn't matter if it's a game day or the day before the game or the day after the game. People are wearing their green Mexico kits. I saw dog walkers walking dogs, and the dogs were wearing Mexico kits.
Yeah,
it is
marvelous.
Yeah, it's something that the Azteca is real. The Azteca, you feel it. You feel the energy. It is hostile towards the opposing teams, and England has a huge hill to climb. England has the quality. Like, this is not even a question. They have the team that can do it. But Mexico is this team. You talk about flying under the radar. Like, I don't think anyone expected Mexico to. Yeah, sure, they're their home team, but they're playing in a way that they just look inspired. They look together. They look like they can beat anybody, and so it's a big challenge for England. I think, talking to my colleagues in the UK, if England wins this game, they had a hard time telling me what would be a bigger World Cup victory than that. Under these conditions, England winning a quarterfinal at the Azteca, beating Mexico after everything that has happened over the last 24 hours and what is still to come. So it's so tasty. It is so tasty. I can't wait for that game.
Tasty is the word. Felipe, thank you so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure.
Take care, guys.
Nice one, Felipe.
Well, there we are, Flex. We're just about out of time.
I'm nervous, mate. I've probably kept a lid on it, mate. I'm absolutely bricking it. I think we can say that here. I'll be honest, mate. Like, after that game against Ecuador, right? The streets. I thought that Mexico had won the World Cup. There were cars, had that were made for 5 people, had 10 people in it.
Yeah.
They had tequila out of the door. They're just giving everyone drinks. There's people on mopeds. There's 4 people on mopeds just driving around the city, bibbing horns. Then they go down to the Independence Square, I think it's called. Millions of them, mate. Millions. The fireworks that went off at the fan park, at the fact that they'd won the game, were celebratory celebratory fireworks of winning the tournament. It felt like they'd just won the World Cup, and I was like, this is the round of 32. What is happening? So yeah, Felipe's right, man. It's tasty, but like he said there, they can beat anyone, and the Azteca's real, and the feeling from these Mexican fans is real.
Yeah. Well, they've made the 5th game of the World Cup, have Mexico. That was always the thing, the 5th game. I know we've got a round of 32 now and so on and so forth, but they've never been past a 5th game at a World Cup. So it's all to do for England. Hopefully they can make sure Mexico keep that stinking record up, quite frankly. Flex, absolute pleasure, my man. That's all from us today on the S Word. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back same time tomorrow with plenty more Where This Came From. Don't forget to follow us on socials at talkSPORT Word. You're watching the S Word, sponsored by Kalshi.
The daily deep dive into the world of football.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.